Great. So what we're looking at in this particular section is to ensure that you get the most out of this course. We've spent a lot of time thinking carefully about the design, and we just want to spend a bit of time just going through each individual element, the different aspects of the course that you should expect, so that you have a really good understanding of how to get the most out of your learning for the different chapters that you're going to experience. And so each particular chapter has this structure. We have an activate task. We're going to be looking at a knowledge set, tool set, skill set, mindset. That's the KTSM acronym there. There's going to be some input, and so we're going to be providing some specific focused input. And then we're going to be thinking about how we might construct something or build something. And each chapter closes with a reflect and extend task. Let's just dig into each of these in turn. And so at the beginning of every chapter, we have an activate task. These are designed just to make sure that we're reaching back into what we already know. Ensure that you have a moment just to actively recall and retrieve some of the information that you've previously developed and understanding that you bring to this course, as well as looking back on previous lessons. So Chris, this is a really important aspect of our learning and also our design, isn't it?
Absolutely, because I guess in any learning experience, we want to start really well. We want to reach back and reconnect and reactivate with previous learning, but also get us in a position for the learning to come. So some of the activates will be very much looking backwards and reactivating knowledge, but some of the activates will also actually be setting you up for the learning which is going to come in this chapter. And I think that a really important piece for us to remember about this activate is we put it at the start of each chapter, but if you, for example, want to do one chapter and then have a week off before you do the next chapter, that's absolutely fine. Or if you wanted to smash through, every chapter in a day or so, you can do that as well. But we've put the activates at the start of each chapter just to reactivate, just to get you ready and in the right place for learning.
The next part of each chapter is a really important framework that Chris and I have been using and developing over many years now, called knowledge set, tool set, skill set, mindset. And what it does, it takes each of the different intended learning outcomes for that particular chapter and splits them down into different categories. We find that this works extremely well. Instead of a really broad learning intention, is to have very explicit signals or markers about these different categories. And so we'd be spending time identifying for the chapter that you're about to explore what knowledge or new understanding you're going to be developing, which particular skills you might be working on, so which ones you'll be relying upon, the tool set that you're going to be building, and then also a crucial one, and Chris, I'm sure you agree, this is something that we don't spend enough time talking about, the actual dispositional mindset that's needed for that learning.
And I think one of the things we want to share with you is not only we're sharing with you the learning design because we think it's important for you to understand, but also this is the kind of learning design that we've used with young people when working as teachers and educators. And so whenever we design learning for young people as well, not that you're not young, by the way, I'm sure all of you here are sprightly, but when we're designing intended learning outcomes, we do split that so that students can see that their growth is not just about knowledge. They can grow in terms of skills, they can grow in terms of tools, and they're able to see the cross and kind of interdisciplinarity of some skill sets and some tool sets. And as you said, Tom, that idea of mindset, which is so important in helping young people and helping students to have this disposition and this understanding. And so I like to phrase it sometimes as well as thinking like and giving some example, like thinking like a designer or putting yourself the mantle of the expert designer on as well in terms of a mindset. So it's a really powerful full kind of split lens for us to look at learning outcomes.
And so you should expect one of these at the beginning of each of the chapters, and it outlines each of the different aspects, each of the different categories for the chapter that you're about to head into. And hopefully that should give you some great clarity and a really explicit signal about the areas of growth for you in your professional development. And so you can look back upon those and say, yeah, my tool set is growing. I've got more kind of resources and frameworks I can use. Or maybe it's the disposition that we've highlighted that you're going to be developing across a period of time. The next part that we're going to be looking at is, of course, input. And so each of the different chapters has specific lessons where you're going to be looking at new knowledge and practices, new understanding, and we're going to be presenting a range of different things to help you develop your understanding of the solar taxonomy. Chris, we've got two kind of keywords here on this slide about practice and research. What do we mean there?
Yeah, so we all value research, and we want to use tools and we want to use approaches which have got some research behind them. But what we also really want you to value in this course, more than anything, in fact, and probably more than research, is your own practice. And the fact that our practice and what we're going to give you in terms of examples, it is built upon the practice that we have used and all strategies that we've used with people, either young students in schools or adult learners. It's all practical, practice-based input. So it's really important that we acknowledge the research that has been done, but also to really acknowledge that the most powerful research that can be done is you in your classroom trying out some of these things. And we're bringing that practitioner approach to the input that we give you.
Another aspect of each chapter that you should expect is a time for you to construct, to build connections, and to develop your understanding through application, building your own examples. So as Chris mentioned, we come from a practitioner's lens. We have that kind of in our bones as former teachers. And so this course is designed to be very, very practical. You would have already seen the range of resources that you're going to be able to develop and work on. And so during each chapter, you'll see these moments and you'll experience these moments where you can take something down or download it, explore it, and construct your own understanding and use it within your own setting, make it contextual. And that's one of the best ways that we can actually learn about the solar taxonomy, is our continuous use and application within our own setting, rather than just allowing it to be a theory within an online course. We want to take those things down and actually use them with our own students and with our colleagues.
And what's the next bit then, Tom, in our beautiful learning design?
Well, the final part is, I suppose, a capstone piece for every single chapter. However, we also recognize that reflection isn't just like an event, is it? So we want to, even though that you should expect to see at the end of every chapter a reflect and extend task, an opportunity for you to take stock of what's going on, how you're learning. So increasing your awareness of the experience of learning you're going through, really to deepen those connections that you're making, to extend your understanding even further, to think carefully about the experience that you are going through. So we're really trying to increase your awareness of your own professional learning experience here. And also then we're trying to encourage you to bridge to other contexts. So considering how the ideas and practical resources that you might be using, or the use of the solar taxonomy in particular context, how that might be extended and new opportunities spring up within your own context. Chris, this is often the kind of capstone, like now's the time to reflect. That's a common thing, isn't it? That we often see. We're not just reflecting just at the end of chapters, though, are we?
And it's always that kind of nightmare scenario where you as a learning designer, as a teacher, have thought about, this is a really important reflection I want my students to go through and to experience to deepen their understanding. And you stick it at the end of the lesson and something happens and you lose some time somewhere and suddenly you run out of time, and we don't give our children in schools often that time to reflect. So it's really important that we'll be stopping in the middle. We'll be stopping again at the end, as Tom says, with a much bigger kind of reflect and extend, but you are in control of this course. So at any time you can pause these videos, you can fast forward them, you can rewind them, you can give yourself the time to reflect. And we just really want you to think about ingraining that as a really good habit around metacognition. How am I going? How am I learning? Is this working for me? What do I need to do to get the most out of this course? But also about taking that content and then bridging it out to your own context as well. So I think, Tom, we're actually going to take one of those little moments now, right?
Yeah, I think we are. So this is a stop and explore moment, and you'll kind of see them dotted throughout the course videos. And this is a chance for you to do exactly what Chris said, to get hold of a practical resource, to pause, to look back at some video, to go rewind and refer to some of the things that we've already said. And what we're asking you to do within this particular moment is to download, and you can see that the little download button down here, we point in the right direction, is our KTSM resource. So this is one of the first downloads that you're gonna get your hands on. And so remember, this is the knowledge set, tool set, skill set, mindset framework. And that just gives you an opportunity to see that with real clarity about how those different things are set up. It sets up some opportunities for you to explore those 4 categories for yourself, and also gives you some examples of how those might be used. So this is a great opportunity now to stop and to explore.